Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Tara Reeve. I'm the Director of Admissions at Downe House. I don't know if you know Downe House. It's an all-girls boarding school in Berkshire, so we're about 40 minutes from London, 40 minutes from Heathrow. So what I'm going to try and talk to you about today is when should my child start boarding? And I really don't envy you. It's such a difficult thing for even parents in the UK to consider, let alone parents thousands of miles away in Malaysia. So I'm trying to negotiate and navigate your way through the British school system with your own children is something that is really, really difficult. Now, what I can't tell you today is what to do, because really I'm here to tell you that you have to do what's right for you. What's right for you as a family. Every child is different. Every family is different. Every child matures at a different pace, and children will be ready for boarding when they're ready. You can't make them ready for boarding. So this is a journey we have to go on together very much. Times have changed. I don't know if you went to boarding school yourselves, but I did. I went to an all-girls boarding school a long time ago in the 1980s, 1990s, and boarding schools have changed a huge amount since then. You know, boarding houses are homes from home. What you get in a boarding school, all the schools here today, they are offering very nurturing environments to bring your children into. Homes from home. I used to be a house mistress myself, so I used to look after a whole house of girls aged 16, 17, all by myself. Not all by myself, I have a whole team, but they're really different places. We have beautiful food, we have really caring staff, beautiful dormitories, gorgeous carpets, comforts. People, you know, children bring their own things with them. So it really is a comfortable environment. And this is what I was just saying. It's about your child. So there's one thing I would ask you to do, and it's to wear noise-cancelling headphones. Don't listen to what your friends are doing, okay? Because everybody is different, and everyone's children are different. Everyone, you know, children are ready for boarding at different times, as I said. So if only it was easy as waiting until your child is ready to board. Unfortunately, there's a real equation that you need to bring into play, taking into the different types of school that we have in the UK. Now, I don't know what you know about the British school education, but there are a whole number of different types of schools in the UK. You've got prep schools that go up to 13. Some go up to 11, some go up to 13. You've got senior schools. Some of them start and go all the way through from age 3 all the way to age 18. Some start at 11. Some start at 13. Then you have sixth form colleges. You have independent schools, boarding schools, weekly boarding schools, flexi boarding schools. So really, there's so much to kind of put into play when you're talking about whether your daughter or son is ready to board and when they might be ready to board. So what I can't do today is I can't tell you what to do, but I can, I hope, give you some really useful pointers and questions to ask when you're speaking to schools. And certainly you might go away today with lots of interesting contacts with schools, and actually you might go back to them and think, actually, I didn't ask that question, and that's really important. One of the really important questions that I hope you have been asking is about weekends. So all the schools here today offer full boarding. That's why they're here. But not all schools are fully full boarding schools. Okay, so Downe House, for example, is what I consider a fully full boarding school. We have 20 day girls in a school of 600. Everybody is what we call a full boarder. So weekends are really busy. So you may be considering other schools. Your question is to those schools, how many children stay in at the weekends? Because the last thing you want is for your child to be left alone at weekends with overseas boarders. And that happened to me. I was at boarding school. I had 100 people in my year, about the same size as Downe House. And everyone used to go home at weekends. And I was left with 5 of us in my year group. And there's nothing worse for homesickness than that, I tell you, because all you want to do is go home like everybody else. Whereas at a school like Downe House, when you know there's lots and lots of children in at weekends, then homesickness isn't an issue. Everyone's in the same boat, so everyone's on the same level playing field, and it really makes for a much happier environment, an all-inclusive environment. Also, the most fun you have at school is at the weekends. The best activities are at the weekends, you know, and that's when they form those really, really important friendships. And I think the best thing about boarding school in the UK is the friendships they make for life. So if you speak to girls who've left Downe House and boys who've left Radley, which is our partner school, they're all inviting each other to their weddings right now. And I went to an all-girls boarding school, and they're my best friends even today. So really, the magic of a boarding school really is the people and the friends that you make. Now, I'm including this slide reluctantly, but I think it's just important for you to know about. So we are seeing increasingly larger and larger numbers of families sending their children away for prep school. I don't know if that surprises you or not, but age 8, 9, or 10, families quite often believe that if they send their children away younger, that will increase their chances of getting into their preferred senior school. Now, there is some degree of truth in that, because lots of prep schools now belong to senior schools. And so actually, for example, if you send your child to Bilton Grange, which is a kind of feeder prep school for rugby, then they will probably get preferential treatment going into their senior school. I'm seeing more and more families, particularly from China, doing this, but I want to reassure you that there is absolutely no need to send your child away at age 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. Unless they're particularly mature and particularly want to, you won't be in any way disadvantaged sending your child away a little bit later, or even in the sixth form. It's my job as admissions director also to really focus on the diversity within our schools. We don't have many pupils from Malaysia, and I really want to see more of them, okay? And that all plays a part in the picture that we are all playing when we're trying to offer places to our students. So starting at 11 years old, if you're looking at a single-sex school for your daughter, then chances are that that school will have a really big intake at 11. I'm speaking from Downe House's perspective. We start at 11. So our biggest intake, nearly our biggest intake, is in year 7. There are other girls' schools here today. Headington, it has its own prep school, so starts much younger. But any school that starts at 11, it will also have an entry stage at 13. So if you are looking at a girls' school, don't feel necessarily that you need to join at 11. Okay, there's usually, if I can talk about Downe House because it is my school, we double our intake at 13. Okay, and then we have another intake again at 16. So there is no need to necessarily start at the beginning. The advantages of starting at the beginning, though, are that you're at the very beginning. You're at the very beginning with everybody else. You'll make lots and lots of friends. But if that school has thought really well about how to integrate girls at 13, they will also have a big intake at 13, so joining at 11 won't be a problem. Lots of schools will also offer very cool things to try and get you to subscribe earlier. So just be aware of that. Downe House has a chateau in France, and we offer a term in France in year 8. And really that is to ensure that we have girls coming in year 7. But again, you know, it's an option if you've got a girl who really is mature enough to really cope with being away from home, dealing with travel, dealing with possibly English as a foreign language. There is a certain degree of maturity involved in coming at 11, and there is no way that everybody is ready at 11. Some girls are, but there's an awful lot of girls who aren't, and that's nothing to worry, you know, be disappointed about. Every child is different. Every child matures. Every child gets there in the end. And for some, it happens earlier than others. You'd be surprised. So starting at 13 years old. So it's a very odd time, I think, to start school at 13. But that's traditionally in the UK. Boys' schools always started at 13. And you've still got lots of co-ed schools that start at 13. And that's mainly because we had a prep school system. When it was all boys, it was a prep school system all the way up to 13. And then boys' schools started 13 to 18. Now, what you've happened is over the years, those prep schools are now co-ed schools. So that's why you have this kind of strange anomaly of girls' schools tending to start at 11. Boys' schools start at 13. But of course, over the years, lots more boys' schools have become co-ed schools. So you've got this kind of strange thing of co-ed schools starting at 13. I hope that kind of at least makes sense as to why some start at 13 and some 11. It seems strange. So schools like Radley, that's our partner boys' school, they start at 13. Shrewsbury's here today. They start at 13. Rugby starts at 13. It's a really good time to start. It's a really good time to start. Generally, most children will be old enough to cope with being an immersive, full boarding environment. Because what you want for your child is you want them to be able to access everything a full boarding school offers. There are some amazing opportunities at these schools. And what you don't want is for your child to go there and almost not be able to access because they just don't necessarily have the skills yet or the maturity to take advantage of all the opportunities on offer. And of course, deal with being an awful long way from home. These schools are amazing pastorally. They have to be these days. They look after your child as much as possible, but they can't actually change the geography of the situation. It's amazing, though, on FaceTime and things like that, you can really keep in contact with your children really, really well. So the other option, sorry, you've got my face in there, is starting at 16. So this is one of my specialist subjects. I was a house mistress for 8 years at Downe House, and I ran a sixth form boarding house. So you can ask me anything about joining in the sixth form. Hopefully I should be able to answer it. But joining at sixth form, again, is a very good and realistic option for your children. They will, I think it would be expected that they should be mature enough to be able to handle the travel, as much as schools give a lot of support with that, but be able to handle the real immersive environment at 16. Now, the things to look out for at 16, different types of schools again. You know, you've got schools that focus on the IB. You've got schools that focus on A-levels. We do A-levels. You've got some that do something called BTEC. And you've got others that offer a whole range and do a bit of both. So it's really important that you look at what kind of system is right for your child. Are they ready to focus on 3 subjects or 4 subjects at A-level rather than a kind of a wider range of subjects at IB? But maybe that's what they would be better at. And either way, they're both right options. Okay, they're both right options. They're just very different. We say focus on 3 subjects for A-level, and that's really important. No university asks for 4 A-levels, not one single one. Even if you're the best, brightest Oxbridge student, we say 3 subjects. That's to enable you to have the time to be able to do other really great stuff to make you stand out on your university application form. So sixth form is really not just about studying your A-levels, it's about preparing you for that next step at university. And all of the schools here today offer amazing higher education support. At Downe House, we have very much a one-on-one kind of one-on-one tutor system, and those tutors are very, very well trained in the university landscape in the US and in the UK. So again, I know that quite a lot of families in Malaysia are also keen on UK universities, but also in the US. And UK universities, it depends. You need to ask these questions. We prepare students really well for US applications. We have somebody who specializes just in US applications. You can study for the ACT and SAT here, but you can't in every sixth form school. So you need to ask those questions and have a think about where your child might want to go to university. The one thing I would say, I've had girls come from Malaysia and Singapore for sixth form at Downe House, and they have, every single one has been amazing. All the girls have been fantastic girls. One thing that probably shocked them and shocked the parents was just how quickly time in the sixth form goes. It really is a whirlwind. You're essentially only there for a year and a half. Yeah, by the time you've done by the time you actually sit the exams, they're usually quite early. just don't underestimate how much time it takes to settle in, make friends, build relationships with new teachers, come to grips with sometimes with new subjects, and a new culture, and a new school. And almost day one, we start not the application process, but we start a very structured process of looking at university landscapes with your tutors. So almost as soon as they arrive, we're looking at the next stage. It's not a bad thing necessarily, but it is a lot for a child to take in at sixth form. Does that make sense? So I just think, just be aware that it is quite a whirlwind and there's an awful lot to get to grips with. So sometimes, if you think your child might struggle with that, it might be more sensible to bring that forward and maybe start a little bit earlier. Again, it's entirely on your own individual circumstances. And again, there's another whole question. If only the application process was the same for every school, how convenient that would be. You need to have those questions with your school. Especially, applying for sixth form, really, there are lots and lots of different application processes to get your head around. At Downe House, we ask girls to do 2 subjects plus a general paper, and that happens in November. So you need, the year prior to entry, you will need to do your application sort of now, if you were thinking of coming in September. So it all happens the year prior to entry. For 13, coming in at 13 plus, quite a lot of schools assess really, really early in year 6. And again, don't panic if you think you've missed out. Talk to the school. The reason we do that at Downe House, we assess when the children are 10 years old for a place at 13. And that is really, we've had to bring ourselves in line with the rest of the landscape in the UK, because what happens is co-ed schools, other schools will offer to a child before us, and they think, okay, brilliant, I've got a place at X, I can breathe, I don't care about Downe House anymore. So we've had to do it to remain competitive. But I will be on your side and absolutely agree it is far too early to be doing these assessments. But if you have fallen outside that window, do not worry at all. Just speak to the school. Applying for 11 plus is really easy. That's just the year prior to entry. So as I said, I hope I've been a little bit helpful in terms of the questions that you need to ask. Really, that question is about weekends, I think, is the most important thing, and about having a guardian. But really about the emotional aspects. Are they ready emotionally to be away from home? Are they able to practically to be away from home, to deal with travel, luggage, getting to an airport? Are they able to handle the English? Are they emotionally ready? And do they want to? That's the most important thing. They've got to be on board. There's no point, we don't send children away anymore. It's got to be their desire to go away from home. So there's lots of right answers. There may be a couple of wrong answers, but there are often lots and lots of right answers. People say to me, oh, I don't want to go to a co-ed. I definitely want single sex, or oh, no, I'm looking for co-ed. Just think about the school. You will know when you go around the school whether it's the right school for your child. You will just get that feeling. And I think you've just got to rely on that instinct that you will feel when you find the right school. And this really is just a plug. It's something that we do at Downe House, which I'm really proud of, and it's something that I can bring to you here. It's a podcast. So we started this in COVID times. More and more people around the world are listening to podcasts because they were inside. And I thought, oh, why don't we do one on admissions? So that you've got an opportunity to hear from children themselves about what it's like to join at different entry points. So you can find our podcasts on Spotify, on Apple iTunes. We've got ones about joining the sixth form, joining at 13, joining at 11. I've got one on what happens at weekends. I've got one on music, on art, drama, dance. The list goes on. So I hope you'll find those really useful, because you can hear from the children themselves, and you can hear what it's really, really like. But thank you very much for listening. Does anyone have any questions? Yes? Yeah.
So, for Downe House, what are your average number of students that enter Oxbridge
So it depends year on year, to be honest. Averagely, we start off the program in the lower sixth, and we want it to be open to everybody. So we give everybody a chance who wants to apply. We should never be able to say, no, you can't do that, you're not clever enough. That's a journey that the children go on themselves. We normally start the program with about 30 pupils who want to go through the process. It's a very, very vigorous, intense process for them. And inevitably, quite a lot drop out just because they can't balance it, or they actually decide for themselves that it's a step too far for them. And normally we have about between 15 and 20 girls apply in the end. And then, honestly, it depends every year how many we get in.
These are, just say they're the Oxbridge cohorts, yes? And what are the processes? What type of
Support?
support?
Yeah, so we have a whole program just for pupils going for Oxbridge. So again, we start off giving them an information evening for everybody, and they can decide whether they want to go on the process. We have a member of staff who runs our Oxbridge and veterinary medicine applications. So he looks after just Oxbridge. Depending on what subject your daughter or son wants to study at Oxbridge, we then give them a subject mentor. So ideally, it will be a member of staff who has been to Oxbridge to study that subject. We can't always do that, but we will find them somebody. So say somebody wants to do Italian at Oxford, we will find somebody either who's done Italian at Oxford or who's in a position to help somebody who wants to go and do Italian at Oxford. They will then meet with them every week, and that specialist tutor, subject tutor, will really help them, guide them in terms of what extra reading and preparations they might want to do for that particular college. So you'll have a tutor separately who will work with your child literally to say, have you written your statement? Do you need some help with X, Y, Z? You'll have a subject mentor who's just mentoring you on that particular subject. And then you'll have somebody overall who's looking after the applications and who kind of guide them as a group as to what they should be doing at what time.
I've actually sought the preliminary guidance from the Oxbridge application. Because the alumni, they offer Oxbridge application guidance for children, for our kids.
Yeah.
And the counsellor mentioned that there are actually some point systems. I don't know whether
Right.
I don't know whether I've understood it as point systems or there are some criteria which will weigh, certain things that the students have done that will give a better weight
Yeah.
to entrance into
Yeah.
Oxbridge.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, we kind of know, or she kind of knows what she wants to do. We kind of know like what the universities are from number 1 to
Yeah.
number 3 at the moment.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm trying to find because she already knows what she wants. She's worked really hard. She's ambitious. So as a mother, I just want to be able to put her in the right path
Yeah. Yeah.
to her achieving her dream, right? I mean, I'm sure all moms and
Yeah.
all parents want to.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
Well, it's that journey. I mean, everything at Downe House, and it's all about your child and creating a bespoke journey for them. So
those criteria, like those checklists, which you guys would.
we'll have that. We guide them through all of that. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And there is an element of lottery involved as well. Getting into Oxbridge now is so difficult.
Also, if you're an international student, the probability is lower. I know they kind of warn me about that too.
Well, yeah, they say that. Sometimes I've heard that, on the contrary, it's higher because you pay more fees. So actually, you're very attractive to UK universities because you'll have to pay more. I know that sounds an awful thing to hear, but
We know.
and it's a bit like being an admissions director at school. My job is to, we have 25% overseas. I don't want any more than that. We don't want any more than that as a school because it's very important that we retain our British identity. And what you're coming over for is a British education, not an overseas one. But within that cohort, my job is to make sure that is as diverse as possible. So, being the fact that you're from Malaysia might actually play in your favor if there aren't many people from Malaysia applying.
Right.
I'm not an admissions tutor for Oxbridge, so I can't tell you exactly. But I'm sure all of those things come into play.
Okay. And what are your demographics like in terms of your students in sixth form?
About where they come.
Percentage are from Southeast Asia or Asia?
Yeah, so as I say, we're about 25% overseas. But within that 25%, I'm hoping by the time your daughter gets there that we'll have diversified further. But currently, probably sort of half of them are from Asia.
12.5.
Yeah, we have quite a lot of girls from Nigeria, from Africa. We have girls from the States. We have girls from Europe.
And out of that 12.5, maybe only 10 probably Southeast Asia?
Probably not even that, actually.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. It honestly depends year on year. I'd have to ask you. I'd have to look into the particular year group that she was coming into.
Understand the kind of, yeah, I mean, it's true, because we're going to go to a British college, then that international, students, the international community is also important.
Yeah, of course it is. And actually, you know, yeah. And that's why I want to make our community as diverse from as many different countries as I possibly can, because it's amazing for the whole community. You know, it's not just about your daughter, it's about us learning from your daughter. Yeah, and learning about new cultures. It's an amazing experience. Thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you. Has anyone else got any questions? No. Well, good luck, everybody. I don't envy you. Good luck. I hope today's been useful for you. And at least, you know, the thing is, we love talking to you. So just email us, pick up the phone, come and visit us. The more we get to know you, the more we can help you and actually create the right path for your daughter or your son.